here's what I'm thinking, and this is all very, very valid. This is a subset of a presentation I made at the UN on May 20th of this year. And I want you to think about what's happening in this world. And if there's one takeaway, that takeaway is there's going to be a human in the loop. One takeaway. And there's certain qualities of that human that we need to care about, right? So humanized. So let's think about what's happening in the world today. What's happening in the world right now is that we're probably in the greatest migration we've seen of people since World War II. We probably are. And by the way, I'm in Region 8. That means I'm in Europe. I am a US citizen living abroad, so I have a green card in reverse. And in between, I lived in Hong Kong. So I've seen the world around me. So what you have is migrations of people. You also have a challenge to the systems that we've created. The systems, whether they are identity, and I'm going to challenge you here. Identity is really, really, really important. Think about identity and digital identity. Think about the implications of privacy. And when I say digital identity, I mean I choose to share with you what I want to share and when I want to share it. Okay? So we have migration, we have lots of things happening, and Vint actually and I have been talking about this problem, Vint Cerf from yesterday. Think about connecting the next 2 to 3 billion people in the next several years. And by the way, they're not coming from North America, ladies and gentlemen. They are not coming from North America. They are not coming from Europe. They're coming from other parts of the world. Other parts of the world. So that gives us a chance to think about how we're creatively going to solve for big, big problems. The other notion here, when we think about this whole notion of migration, so migration, what's happening in this world, what are the factors that we have to care about? How many of you know foreign languages? Good. Know foreign languages. That's real important. How many of you have a degree in other degrees like than science and engineering? Anthropology, creative writing, being able to think deeply. This is really, really important because I want to talk about the skill sets. So, one is to think about the ability to take your science, your engineering, and apply it very, very deeply, but see a broader world. The other side of it is tech policy implications. A lot of what I do is around the UN level. What are the tech policy implications of the work we do, of the engineering that you do? You have some notion of representation of government, so you have to take a look at that. There is a lady who is an Intel fellow. Her name is Geneviève Bell. How many of you have heard of her? Geneviève has a PhD in anthropology. She has a PhD in anthropology from Stanford. She's a daughter of an anthropologist. She comes from Australia, and by the way, was raised in Aborigine communities and speaks several Aborigine dialects. And so when she sees the world differently. She sees it from an anthropological lens. Now, one of the people whose name is up here happens to be a refugee. And his status happens to be refugee. But he does not want to be known as a refugee. He wants to be known as an engineer. He wants to be known as a technologist. And so it's very interesting when you start to see the world collapsing as we are seeing, the implications that we have today. So I'm going to talk to you about building that humanized internet, and with it, some background that's happening, whether you're paying attention, and you need to pay attention. People say, all of what's happening around me is just happening, but you need to pay attention to geopolitical factors. You need to pay attention to that, ladies and gentlemen. You need to understand your geography. You need to be able to understand that the world is not always going to speak English. All right? And that we have big moonshot problems that we need to solve. And perhaps Perhaps we can learn from the other side. Some people call that, reverse innovation. And I will say innovation is a state of mind. Entrepreneurship is a state of your mind.